What's up? Jordan Peterson on toxic masculinity. It's not okay to be a man. What did he say? It's not okay to be a man? No, it's necessary. Let's hear what he has to say. We're gonna watch this video. First things first, please go down, click like, click subscribe, comment when you have something to comment. I'd love to see insightful comments in the comment section. I'll be replying to you. We'll have a back and forth. It's gonna be awesome. Meanwhile, let's get going on the video.
We've met some of your fans, and
oh man, immediately, he looks so sad. This is gonna be a teary video, isn't it? All right.
We got the impression they were all male fans, the ones that we talked to, and that they were struggling with their manhood, and that you give them this message that it's okay to be a man.
It's not okay. It's necessary. What the hell are we going to do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up. These men, they're doing impossible things. They're under the streets, working on the sewers. They're up on the power lines in the storms and the rain. They're keeping this impossible infrastructure functioning, this thing that works in a miraculous manner. They work themselves to death, and often literally. And the gratitude for that is sorely lacking, especially among the people who should be most grateful. You see university professors, especially of the social justice bent, who are among the most protected and privileged people that the world has ever produced. They take everything they have for granted, failing to understand entirely that there's a massive infrastructure of unbelievably hardworking, solidly laboring, working class men breaking themselves in half on a regular basis, making sure that everything that always breaks works.
Something amazing that he shared in, I believe it was Maps of Meaning, or maybe it was a lecture that completely blew my mind and brought gratitude to me for society, was an experience that he shared with someone, I believe from the Eastern Bloc, maybe a communist country. And what they said was they saw the bus schedule and the bus actually showed up when the bus was supposed to show up. And she was completely mind blown at that fact. And you'd think, well, yeah, the bus is supposed to show up at 2:51. The bus better show up at 2:51 or you're kind of annoyed. Even if it's a few minutes late, you're kind of annoyed. And it's like, when you think about it, you're like, what goes into a bus showing up at the right time? It's like, holy shit. They require gas for the bus needs to be timed right, they need to understand the route, they need to have accounted for the average stop time, the number of people that'll be on the bus, the infrastructure behind just a bus showing up at the right time is impossible. It's impossible, is what he's saying. It's impossible, it shouldn't happen, but it does. Think about it, imagine you appear on an island. Imagine creating the infrastructure for something like a bus to arrive on time from scratch. It's impossible. You'd never do it. You'd never do it. It'd be the last thing. And meanwhile, you're like, oh man, I'm kind of annoyed the bus is 1 minute late, and you say something snarky to the driver. There's no gratitude there.
And so a little gratitude for that is in order. And it's very useful to tell everyone, not just men, that they have an important role to play, a necessary role, and that if they act properly and honestly and forthrightly, that they can put their lives together and they can help their families and they can make their communities better, and that that's not toxic masculinity, that appalling phrase. It's what keeps the world going round. And if we had any sense, we'd understand that instead of doing everything at every possible moment to label what we have in the West as oppressive and patriarchal and fundamentally predicated on power of all the insane propositions.
There's this idea that, I think that's the end of the video, the idea that everything's related to power. I believe it was, there was I forget the name of the author, Oscar Wilde, he said, everything's about sex, except sex, which is about power. And it's like, no, it's not. Obviously, it's not. I mean, you could take the lens of power and apply it to sex, or apply it to society, or apply it to corporations. And sure, there's some truth to that. There is a power dynamic, but it's not fundamentally about power. And it's not fundamentally about oppression or competition, even necessarily. There's a lot more going on. That lens of the world is limited, right? And you need a broader lens for the world. Also to note, one thing is, we often judge whether or not a society is patriarchal or matriarchal or whatever based on the highest echelons. So who the gender of the presidents, right? Or the race of the presidents, and that's kind of, or the top CEOs or the richest people. That's how we judge the demographic distribution of society. But if you think about it, what he's saying at the start here is at the very bottom, the working class, the people in the sewers, on the power lines, the people laying bricks, the people on the oil rigs or in the oil sands in Alberta, shout out to you guys. Those people are men. Do you want 50-50 quotas for that kind of work? I don't know. I think you'd only want the completely insane people who are willing to do that work, to kill themselves for that work. The insane people who happen to be men, you should let them do it and then wash your hands of that, because I don't want to be in the oil rigs. I don't want to be in the oil sands. I've heard stories about what it's like. Fuck that. I don't want to do that. And they're doing it so we don't have to, because someone has to do it. And so imagine you're judging society by the top, and then all these people at the bottom, all these predominantly men, it's like 98% men, 99% men, are doing this, and you're like, what about those guys? You're just looking at the top of the hierarchy. What about the whole thing, the entire bottom? There's a lot of men there doing a lot of work that no one wants to do. Something to take into account. And it's beautiful what he says about responsibility. That's the fundamental movement here. Responsibility. It's the counterpart to rights. We've had the rights discussion. We understand that rights are important. Rights have expanded, and there's room for improvement in society. There's no doubt about that. There's room for improvement, and there's also room for gratitude. There's room for gratitude as well as room for improvement. We can do both. So that's the video. Thank you very much. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear what you think. Please comment that below. Please subscribe, please like, and I'll be back with more real soon. Thank you.